Button pressed.
I have a signal.
Okay. And Kate. And in 3, 2, 1. Piss.
Piss. Welcome to the brand new Twin Humanities, which is the number that follows the episode that we listed last time. Are we 52?
Yes,
52 this
52.
time?
Deck of cards.
Is it 52?
It's 52.
It wasn't the 50th last time, was it?
No, it was 51 last time.
Oh, cool. It's 52.
52.
Marvellous. So, yeah, we've got a few bits to delve into today. Lots of information that's come out of Gamescom with regards to Dark Souls 3. Your feedback on the Bloodborne quandary that we mentioned last time. We've really battered into our co-op stuff in Dark Souls 2 as well. And, it should be a bit of a dooze, I reckon.
Yeah, hopefully this show is going to be...
You see, you have done some work for the show.
I totally did. I downloaded...
How does that feel, to have done some work for the show? I wondered if you were going to get stroppy with me then, or if you were going to play it again. Is it just that one piece of feedback that you've got?
Ask me a different kind of question.
Okay. I'm really pleased that you've done this work for today.
Thank you.
I wish you'd do this much work for all of the shows.
I'm sorry.
I can't think of the other
Help
one.
me.
What? I've never heard that one.
Help me.
Yeah.
Is that an actual one, or did somebody just titting about?
No.
Or was that just one of your own personal exclamations you managed to plug in there?
No. I've modulated my voice down.
Help me.
You've never heard that one? I don't remember hearing it, but it's there.
No, I don't remember that. Maybe is it in DS2? Because I've not really used them in DS2, and they're a bit of a shit about in the original Dark Souls.
I don't know. I don't remember seeing it.
I'm sorry.
Right, moving on.
Okay.
Right,
Good.
Okay, we're done. I'm putting it down.
this is what happens when you prepare for the show.
Yeah, this is what I do. I download an app and press the button.
You see, I thought you were going to crack in time. Sorry again, then, but
I'm sorry.
yeah.
What came at you from an
Right.
angle? Okay, go. Episode.
Steady on. Right, so firstly, I'm going to crash in with a bit of an early plug. But I was honoured to join Ryan Heyman, Sean O'Brien, Josh Garrity and James Carter in recording the Kenny Rince Dark Souls 2 episode last weekend.
You did, didn't you, you cheeky bitch?
I did. So excellent chat, tons discussed. A real back and forth on the original DLC, Scholar and Beyond. It's out the weekend after this one, so I think that's the weekend of the 15th.
Something like that.
But it was a proper pleasure to be a part of, and I hope folks enjoyed listening to it just as much. But on there, I will debut a new discovery regarding Dark Souls 2, which we'll go into a bit in more detail on the next Twin Humanities.
Ooh.
So there's a little nugget that was new to me beforehand.
Interesting.
So,
Did you just say scholar over and over and over again?
Yeah, scholar. Oi, oi, oi! Scholar, oi!
Nice. Okay, while we're
so-
plugging then, before we get going, while we're plugging, I have something else to plug that I've been teasing for the last few weeks. I am getting my hair shaved. Those of you who know me as the ginger one, I will soon be known as the bald one, which is going to change the theme tune a bit. It's going to have to be like Paddy's the baldy one, maybe? CJ's got some hair. But
I've got all the hair.
CJ has the hair. Well, I'm going to have some chin hair still, because if I shave off the chin hair, I will look like a baby.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't want to be a baby.
But saying I've got some hair suggests that I'm receding, and that is not the case. I have bountiful locks, curls of pure chocolate.
Bountiful locks over 70% of my head.
Ooh. Luscious, beautiful hair.
Just totally
All
dropping some
fighting
shit on you.
together.
People don't know. You could be any.
What?
You could be bald. They don't know.
Yeah, it would be a satisfying wig.
You could be
It's-
anything.
Yeah,
You could be a dog.
It's applied Nutella. Yeah, it's only a drawing. It's only a drawing on the
Just a
side.
picture. It's just me doing a
It's
silly
just a
voice.
drawing. You could be a dolphin. I'd hate you if you were a dolphin, laughing at us from the sea.
You say my laugh doesn't sound like that.
What?
That's what my life sounds like sometimes, though. So
Really?
But yeah, back to topic. Yeah, I'm getting my hair shaved, and I'm doing a charity. So if you've ever considered doing anything for us, we like that you listen. If you ever want to do anything else, there'll be a link in descriptions and things to go and maybe chuck a couple of quid there. That would make me happy, and it makes other people who need our help happy as well. So win-win.
What's the charity?
The charity is Sue Ryder, which is the charity I actually work for.
Tell people what that is, because they might not know if they live in far-flung lands like Narnia or America or...
Yeah. Terrible. Okay, well, we'll see.
I'll look out for you.
Okay, well, here we go. Right, okay. This podcast's about to get real world now. So, I work for Sue Ryder, which is a charity that provides incredible hospice and neurological care across the country. We run 14 care centres up and down the UK and provide care not just for those with the conditions, but the families as well. And all the services we provide are free to our patients. So we need to make all the money to keep paying for that, to make people's lives so much better. And any penny you can throw towards that would be exceptional. We're doing incredibly well so far. I'm very happy. We've got about 2 weeks to go. It's happening on the 22nd of August, and there will be photos, and my mum is coming, so that'll be fun.
Is she going to disown you finally?
No, she wants the first shave.
Oh, fair play.
She's willing to pay a premium for first shave. So if any of you want to come down and get into a bidding war with my mother, then you're welcome to.
Point your helicopters at Portsmouth.
And aim the rollerblades at my head.
Right, so let's move across to Germany, where you were last year. It doesn't seem a year since you were there.
I know, right? It's just slightly under a year.
And you got married just beforehand. How's the first year of marriage been?
It's been alright, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's much the same
You
as
being
it
an
was before,
adult, buying a house as well.
I know, right? How things change in a year.
I know. You see?
I put up a fence panel the other week as well. I'm like a proper grown up.
Really?
Yeah.
Just the one?
No, we put up 3, but it did take 3 days. We did one each day because it's hard.
Oh, fair play.
It turns out screwing in screws into wood really hurts your hand.
Real world talk. Anyway, moving across as we were to Germany, the Microsoft conference held the first gameplay trailer of Dark Souls 3, and I thought it was underwhelming.
I also thought it was a little underwhelming. I liked there were some brief flashes in there, but generally, it didn't get me the same way the last few did. Like, it was alright. I was like, oh, that's cool.
Talk me through your thoughts.
Okay, so it opens up with the dark ring, the dark sign, the ring, the ring of fire. No, we're not doing that. It being kind of faded and down. It's like only embers remain. I'm like, okay, that's pretty cool. I'm in. But the stuff they showed, like, I don't know, it didn't look very... What's the word I'm looking for?
Resonant.
Resonant, maybe that's the right word. Yeah, that's a good word. I
didn't
get the Dark Souls feeling, and when I saw like one of the characters do like a spinny attack, I was like, well, that's just like Revengeance, which is fine, but not in that game. It didn't look right initially, but those were like brief flashes. I mean, there was that great shot of the giant face thing just coming out of the dark, which is like Nope to the power of 10. There were some cool little moments in there and some cool looking enemy designs, but to be fair, it's a 1.5-minute trailer. What are you going to do? It was alright. I didn't get that much. I didn't get super excited for it the way that I did for the first trailers for Souls 2 and for Bloodborne.
Yeah, well, I mean, the V3 trailer at least gave a hint of a world, of the story, of mood, and that the Edge article that I mentioned last time, where it gave sort of much more details which enhanced things again. And where others have been sort of rapturous in their apathy for, another Dark Souls so soon, I was excited at that point. Miyazaki and Tanamura working together, the meshing of worlds of Lordran and Dranglake, the end of the cycle of flame burning, extinguishing, the forever whispers of legends being twisted and turned as lands and kings rose and fell. Curse found the people and all became dust. The Microsoft trailer just didn't get any feel for Dark Souls 3. There was nothing in particular of design, no taste of anything. But
it looked like. Did it look like action game?
Well, I mean, there was you got the speed of things, I guess, and the quick dash to the right in one instance just gave me a feeling of, excuse me, but you've got a little Bloodborne in my Dark Souls. I mean, these are lands and worlds I'm invested in, and a huge part of me flat out needs Dark Souls 3. In Scholar of the First Sin, Dark Souls 2 became very, very important to me, so perhaps I'm more invested than most, where most are, do another Bloodborne, whether that's kind of a sequel, DLC, or a sort of brand new title.
All those other guys that are stuck in kind of Souls fatigue a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, which is, fair enough.
Yeah.
But what changed today was seeing IGN's 16 minutes of Dark Souls 3 video, all off camera, and fuck yeah.
Do you mean like off camera was next to video?
Yeah, off screen.
Off camera, it's like there's footage happening.
Oh, sure. I don't know how you did. Right, real world talk here. I mentioned this in a DM to Paddy tonight, and he was like, "Send me a link." So I sent him a link, and he was like, "Oh, it's all right. I found it." It's like, "Oh, well done. You couldn't put IGN Dark Souls 3 into YouTube and asked me for a link." No. So then suddenly you managed to put Dark Souls 3 IGN into YouTube. And then you tell me that you've succeeded, like Mummy's Special Soldier, like the bravest cowboy.
Look, there are two things that are important
here. I don't know
where
that came from.
One, YouTube, the TV YouTube is sometimes very bad at finding videos that have only just come out. And two, I was slightly pooping when I sent you that message. So I came out of the toilet and put on the TV, and it's like, oh, okay, it worked. So I didn't want to say it, but do you know what? Let's get it out.
Nobody needs to know that.
Let's air our dirty grievances.
Nobody. Literally. I mean, I know the footage was set in Bloodborne spec, so 30 frames per second and 720 as opposed to the 60 and 1080 of Dark Souls 2. And I don't like to get into the foops and the peas.
All right, Digital Foundry, calm down.
But it, yeah, steady on. But it looked sort of scholar. Shut up! It looked sort of scholar levels of quick, perhaps even quicker, I guess. If anything, the footage just sort of reminded me of Boletarian Palace and Demon Souls. Huge sprawling castle, a lot. A huge sprawling castle, hidden enemies, light and dark playing a huge part, vicious fire-breathing dragon. There was one bit with a group of people all stuck with swords, looking as though they were dead or faking or ready to strike, and perhaps some were, but when a sword strike clattered into one of them, I jumped because the armour was empty and fell to the floor. I was expecting somebody to like burst up or burst out, but...
See, here's what I got from that area. I thought it reminded me a bit, sort of the Undead Parish a bit, in a way.
How?
Okay, so you've got a big fuck-off dragon breathing fire down a bridge, which is a classic Souls thing, but it reminded me of the... it looked more like the Drake that's on that bridge. It like the style of it with the kind of the spiky neck and the spiky bits. It looks more like that dragon. And then the fact that there's so many things around praying, just on their knees, just praying, I thought, oh, okay, churchy, interesting. And then you meet those knights a bit later, those bastard knights with the big shields, the quick ones, with the big red capes, and I just thought, that's a Boulder Knight.
Yeah, I mean,
that's
the thing that led me to... The thing that led me to the Boletarian Palace stuff was it seems to be elevated, and there seems to be rooms that lead to outside areas that lead to stairs that lead to more rooms, and that kind of verticality that's there in the and height that's there in the Boletarian Palace. It seemed like that. Plus the internal rooms where you saw the furniture and stuff, that really resonated, even with the sort of light that was there in Boletarian Palace. So I was well chuffed at that.
That was 1-1 as fuck.
I mean, with regards to the praying enemies, there was a bit where one of them burst into this sort of giant goopy petrol-like worm thing that's off the rooftop, and I think that's the random something that Miyazaki mentioned in his gameplay demonstrations to the Souls Illuminati, and he apologised when the lad playing the game cocked up and died to it. So I think that's a random thing, so I don't think it's the same person every time, which is
looks a bit Resi. It's a bit Las Plagas.
Yeah, that's what I thought as well. Yeah,
And to me, it looked like, right? It didn't look like a slug. To me, it looked a bit like a half-baked dragon coming out of its head, because there was an arm, and there was like the head, the face of it looked like it had a mouth, and like there was an arm sticking out on the other side. Like it looked like a dragon was trying to cut like magic itself out of a guy's head. I don't know. Maybe that was that's just how I read it. Yeah,
quite eel-like.
Yeah,
Snaky,
gross,
jelly-like.
No one likes snakes.
I mean, I didn't get a feel for the actual story in there, and I think that in that regard, there's more crumbs to be purposely dropped further down the line.
To be fair, people beat the original Dark Souls through and didn't get a feel for the story, so I don't think there's much to worry about on that front.
But it's not as if they've really given us sort of much of a story trailer in the same way as we got with the initial Dark Souls 2 trailer.
Yeah,
which while it didn't go out of its way to suggest lore, it showed you locations, and it I don't know, it gave you a decent feel for the world, which we haven't really had a massive gorp at yet. I mean, I was curious as to how the speed of the combat will feel, as to whether it will be Bloodborne-ish or Dark Souls-ish, and but Mary Kish said on GameSpot that it is Souls combat.
Yeah.
Sunlight
Blade, I saw a tweet basically the same thing. He's had hands on with it at Gamescom, and it feels like Dark Souls 1 apparently.
Yeah, that's fine with me.
Yeah.
I mean, my favourite combat's still Demon Souls, where things feel heavy and purposeful and considered. But I suppose the increase in attack style, stances, and such like should vary things up.
But I would like to see the weapons they picked up. Like one of them was like a dual sword. Like the weapon was a pair of scimitars, and the icon for it was a crossed pair of scimitars. And the standard one-handed version was you hold one, and then you just two-hand it, and it brings the other one out as well. So rather than having to, like, it looks like rather than having to level up two separate swords to kind of do, dual handing properly, it looks like you only need one now, which is kind of cool.
Well,
maybe I could be wrong, but like it looked
no,
cool.
You're actually not. But I'll go into that in a mo. But I would like to see defense return as a valid playstyle rather than sort of purely bounce and attack. But yeah, I mean the stuff that you mentioned about the curved swords. I watched a couple of vids tonight by some of my favourite YouTube makers. Dave Klein and Terramantis put up some new vids.
Okay.
And Dave Klein's was a 21-minute detailing of the footage that loads of the Souls Illuminati played in San Francisco a couple of weeks ago, and Terramantis did a 10 things you might not realise about Dark Souls 3.
Okay.
So with regards to those curved swords, they are you don't have to put one in each hand. They count as one weapon slot, and when you go into, you can break into essentially into a stance, which will mean the character will grab the second one from his side and put it into the other hand.
Yeah, that's what we saw in the video. Yeah, on the IGN one. Yeah, it looked ace. Like that was cool.
So they said that.
Are we doing mechanics news?
It kind of is, yeah.
Ding!
But take this with a pinch of salt and go to Dave Klein and Terramantis' vids because I only saw these literally about 40 odd minutes before we started this podcast, so I'm remembering stuff. So this could be arse, but I'm shoving you towards those beautiful videos. Different shields and weapons bring forth different abilities. Smaller shields offer a parry. Larger bring forth weapon arts. And one of those weapon arts lit the actual weapon arm on fire. The great,
wait, the weapon or the arm?
The arm.
Ooh.
So I presume that includes the weapon as well.
Flame on, motherfucker.
And that's activated with the left too. So Dave was saying that the smaller shields parry in the same way as Dark Souls 1.
Okay.
So they've got that same fluidity that's there. But if you've got a larger shield, you can't do that. But as far as I can tell, there are different things that come along with having a larger shield. the weapon arts themselves are different for each weapon.
Mm-hmm.
But they were saying sort of like the great sword has a period of invincibility. That if somebody strikes and tries to attack you, and you sort of put the great sword sort of in front of you, almost like as a block, that there is a period of invincibility there, that you might not lose all of your health.
Interesting.
You might not keep all of your health, but yeah, it's there. So, but the different weapon art. Oh yeah, the weapon arts are consumable. So it seems like you can only use them a certain amount of times, I presume, between bonfire.
Yeah, it appeared. I read the thing on a website. I think it might have been Kotaku, maybe. I can't remember. But it looks like you can refill those. I think you get 20, like they say. You can pop them off at a bonfire and they all come back. Speaking of things at bonfires that come back, I noticed something while I was watching the video just before I was eating my dinner. Estus flasks, as they were being used. It starts with 10. When it got down to 7, the icon changed to a 2/3 full Estus flask.
Oh yeah, the icon drains.
That's brilliant. Yeah. That is brilliant. It's a little thing, and I sat there and I went Eee! And text you excitedly about it. Sunlight Covenant, top left of the video.
Yeah.
Could just be a placeholder, but still, that is definitely a sunlight face.
They said that certain nights, and I think these are relating to the ones that you considered as to be like the Boulder Nights, were the equivalent of the red and blue-eyed nights in Demon Souls.
Oh, those guys
right.
Are
this
dicks.
is the best. Nah, this is the best bit.
Okay.
And with these guys, if you try to backstab them, if you circle round and try and backstab you, if you circle round and try and backstab them, they clatter your back with their shield and then launch into a spin attack.
Cool.
Fucking A. And they were saying across the board, like, the enemy intelligence has increased.
They seem like vicious. Like, from what I watched, they seem to be able to, really keep the pressure on the player.
Yeah, but I love that fucking idea. They said that the backstabs are more difficult to get anyway. But I just love the thought that with certain enemies, if you circle round to try and get a backstab with them, especially if they're a new enemy, you never know if they maybe will counter for that. But I love the thought of them sort of smashing you back with the shield and then launching into an attack. That's going to be amazing. And I think if that perhaps goes through to PvP as well, that should be really interesting. I mean, a complaint sort of between sort of Dave and Steve was that many areas in the demo lead to dead ends. They acknowledge that this is a pre-alpha and that many of those places may lead to cool items or enemies in the final game, but they're not there at the moment.
Well, to be fair, the Bloodborne alpha that kicked out that I got to play the first part of Old Yarnum, the bit where you drop down into the sewers was just a wall before. So yeah, of course they're not there yet. They only bought the demo. Of course they have.
But yeah, I mean they're both really great videos. So go and check those out. But some of those little tidbits that were mentioned really kind of got me sort of super enthusiastic for what's there. And those knights that are the equivalent of the red and the blue-eyed lads from Demon Souls being so vicious and so intelligent, because I loved those in Demon Souls. They were terrifying. And yeah, I don't know. I got a real Demon Souls spin from it, sort of anyway, and that really took me off guard tonight. That sort of got me a little more bouncy, I guess.
Yeah. The gameplay was definitely better than the trailer. Definitely, even though it was kind of slightly off screen and a bit shaky. Well, it wasn't even shaky cam. It was kind of like washed out cam, but.
That didn't bother me.
Fine,
though.
yeah.
I mean,
you're not looking for 1080 of the Ps. You just want to see how things work.
Well, in that regard, I mean, I think that the only the glaring sort of missing that wasn't there was the lack of sound, and I presume that's because
headphones.
Bobby Joystick there had headphones on, yeah. So.
But genuinely, no, I did. I thought the footage was
very good.
okay.
You and your prep.
Honestly,
That's marvellous.
This is the best episode ever. I'm saying it now,
isn't it?
Fucking
well played.
sold.
Right, so our co-op Dark Souls 2 playthrough.
Whoa, moving quickly on. I like it.
We are. We're timely.
Swish.
So we smashed into a few areas this time. So we hit Earthen Peak, the Old Iron King's lair.
Harvest Valley as well, we did before.
Yeah, I still consider that Earthen Peak.
Halfy.
Yeah, it's the driveway that leads up to the house. We crashed into the first of the DLCs that we've monkeyed with as well. Purely to take a look at something super new for Pad. But the two of us appeared to be holding our own rather nicely.
Yeah, and I was scared.
Yeah, and it was flat out sumptuous to sort of hear your reactions to the the gorgeous surroundings, the new enemies, the sheer verticality, and being lost again. Not just to sort of new twists within the familiar, but something absolutely stone cold new.
Yeah,
but more on that in a moment.
Yeah, we'll get there later. Don't worry.
Right, so Earthen Peak and its poisonous driveway. The changes
back garden of filth.
If you, they're a great band. The changes are pretty subtle here, I think.
Yeah, there's not a hell of a lot. I don't think there's a few odds and sods. There's one brilliant one we'll get to in a minute. But so starting with the downstairs. Let's start with the downstairs, with the valley. Generally, apart from the fact there's maybe a few more skeletons about, and they've mixed the enemies about, there's some desert sorceresses down the bottom there hucking fire at you. Generally, I don't think the area's that much different.
There's those kind of swimmy witches in the in the poison as well.
Yeah.
And there seems to be more stuff to pick up. And better stuff as well.
Titanite shards for days, because at this point you still can't buy them. Like, if you've exhausted the vendors, there are none. So it's not enough, because at this point I've unlocked old blacksmith, what's his face? The mad one, whose name I've completely forgotten. The bonkers blacksmith in the Bastille, I've completely forgotten his name. Macduff.
Yeah.
And you can buy as many large Titanite shards as you want, so I've been doing that and getting everything leveled up. But there's a few items I've got that are bottlenecked because there's no Titanite shards. Just standard ones, can't find them. So this is the first way to really get loads, Well,
there's a point here where I've been summoned into your game, and you fell down a hole in a way that only you could, and then I just heard woo, 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 and I had no idea where you were, and then you just eventually ran out with a ticking health bar. But I got this, and I got this, and I got this.
Oh yes, that was when I fell in the bit with the two giants, the poison pool, just where the entrance to the Sunlight Covenant is. And there's about 1 million items down there, and it's brilliant. There's a slab down there. Everyone listening. There's a friggin' slab down there. Go there.
Poisonous Christmas.
Poison. But I found that there's more poison than there used to be. I feel like I got poisoned way faster, and that might be down to the gear I'm using, but I was constantly eating life gems to try and stave it off, because I don't have much in the way of moss yet, so I was just snacking down on those life gems. I must have burned through about 50 in the time we were playing.
Really?
Yeah,
I need to top up with them, because I've not bought many of them for our co-op game. I bought shitloads for my solo stuff, but
I try to keep about 50-60 on me at all times, because they're just they're useful. And I don't like using my Estus. I like to save that for bosses. I like to life gem the level and Estus Estus is danger time. If I'm in no rush, then it's I'll just life gem, crack it away, let it bring up. I'm in no massive rush. It's fine. It's big whoop.
I remind you of that of some of the bosses in the DLC.
Oh, great. But yeah, I found that the valley itself not much different. I fell in a hole a few times. I found later when I went back after we'd kind of gone through the bit and came back again. I jumped into where was it? There's a side passage that has a load of those fat Latreks down it, with a bunch of options. It's the area you go to, you pop in, and there's 3 Titanite guys. There's a big open area with a few holes in it and a few kind of stood up bits, and you can kind of head off right to go into the next bit, or you can head off left to go to a side passage. So I go in the side passage, and the big fat Latreks jump out, and I'm thinking, yeah, I know how to do this. I just go into the tunnel, hold backwards in the tunnel, wait until they de-aggro, and go and get them. They don't de-aggro anymore. They chase you all the way through, so you can jump out the very back of the area, hop down to the original area you started with. They will still chase you So I had to run about 5 laps of that thing to get ahead of them because they don't stop. Like once they start going for you, they don't stop.
That's really a sort of a mentality that goes across the entire game now, that things will run at you from a large distance away and just won't fuck off.
Yeah, aggro is a thing now, and it retains and it persists. I found the area generally much the same, to be honest, as our last runs. It's a fun area. There's, I think, rather too much poison for my liking, but it's the poison area. What are you going to do?
I mean, the favourite moment of all of this was summoning Devotee Scarlet. Initially because she's a kick-ass fighter and she's ace to have in there, but we saw a wonderful quirk of the new NPCs dressing a puzzle, which was perhaps a little obscure in the original.
Okay, so let's set the scene then. So we're heading up the windmill. We've beaten Big Boy. We've beaten the Covetous Demon. We're working our way through slowly. You shooting things from afar, and me being Captain Aggro Shield with my new Red Eye ring. To draw the aggro of the friends, so you can pick them off for a distance. It was working well. It was a good strategy. I thought it was going well. And we progressed to the part where you have to burn the windmill, otherwise known as, when I played it the first time before launch, there was no idea what you were supposed to do there.
Nope.
The part where I sat there for an hour trying to work out what to do.
Who went up that little pathway towards the cog? Who went up? I think the only reason that I discovered it was somebody had left a message on the ground. But if that message wasn't there, I'd have had no idea.
So we brought Scarlo in, Devotee Scarlet, she's the one with the party heels, isn't she?
No.
That's someone else, isn't it?
Devotee Scarlet has got the amazing coat that you wish you had.
Yes, the great coat,
she's
the amazing
got
coat.
Sort of braided hair, and she scraps like a beaut. She's a diamond, that one.
So she goes along to where the windmill is, the sort of the broken bit of thing, and she turns around and she does the beckon gesture. And we were like, oh, okay. I didn't see much of this because I was kind of looking for the flame at the time, trying to get the torch bit. So the beckon gesture, which you went, ooh, look, she's doing a thing. She's telling the corpse to come on, because we thought she was just doing it over a dead enemy.
Yeah.
And then she turns around and points at the windmill. And it's like, okay. So we get the torch and we burn the windmill. And she does that amazing kind of fist pumps kind of, yeah, we did it animation.
She jumps in the air and punches the air, doesn't she?
And we took turns in each of our games, like you did it and then I did it, and we kind of watched her do it. And like, that's...
Well, you didn't see it at first because
like,
you were off fighting those assassins just above there.
Yeah, and doing the puzzle.
And she did that to me, and I was like, "Whoa, Pad!" And so it was when one of us jumped into the other's game, we kind of looked out for it properly. But that is amazing.
Yeah,
I mean, these NPCs have got so much personality. And if I saw a number of signs on the floor and there were NPCs and people, I'd rather bring in the NPCs because I just think they're ace.
Just see the weird stuff they do, because they do some weird stuff.
No, I just think they've genuinely got so much personality in there,
and they're quite fun to fight with. They fight like the way I'd want them to fight. They don't just run in. Like sometimes you summon players in, and I'm sure from the nature of their own heart, they're doing it for what they want. They're trying to help you, but oftentimes summons can beat the level for you, and I don't think that's as fun.
Yeah.
Whereas an NPC summon will fight with you. They will stay with you, and they will fight what you fight, which is more like what I want.
I think they make the battle more widescreen as well, especially in these early parts of Dark Souls 2. Certainly, they make the boss battles easier, and you have to kind of judge as to whether you want to do them on your own or whether you want to bring folks in. I mean, you can't really complain about a boss being too easy if you brought in like numerous summons.
Exactly.
But I mean, you got adding to this, we brought in Jester Thomas. Just before the Mithra battle, and straight after it, he cobs out a bit of pyromancy. Then it goes like boom, and he disappears, and it just looks classy as fuck because it's all in an instant, and it's right before he goes. And it's like, yes, indeed.
Level finished. Right, see you later. I'm out. Boom.
Yeah, it's just
like a magician.
Pure drama.
Like a magician. It was classy to see. Something else cool something else cool in that area, once we got through the cool fire stuff, which again I think is incredible, to have an NPC point out what I think is probably the most obscure bit you have to do in the whole game. It is not... I don't think... I never made the jump of set the windmill on fire. I was fighting Mither in the poison. It's not easy. Anyway, moving backwards. So I think it was in your world, we got invaded, didn't we? Going up the tower in that same area where you burned the windmill. The invasion sign came up, and we naturally assumed panic positions. One watching one door, one watching the other. And we gave it about a minute, and we thought, well, they're not coming to us, but should we go find them? So you jolly on off the stairs. And did you see the invader at that point?
I don't think so, no.
No, because you jolly off the stairs, and then I thought, oh god, you're going, so I followed you along, about 10, 15 paces behind. I saw the invader drop down from just above the stairs. They were stood above the stairs waiting to drop in on you. They didn't know I was there. And I hit them with the Greatsword's overhand R2, which is not insignificant. And then also caught them with the reverse sweep as well, where you sweep the sword back over, which has a much shorter range and doesn't hit very often. But I got them with both hits of that, and I think you ran in and did your fun poke, didn't you?
Yeah, I mean we'll go into builds in a little bit, but
You did
but
your
yeah,
super happy fire sword fun poke.
we have no, I'm not done. No, I think you're thinking about quite some time ago, because I'm not even using that at the minute.
Okay, you did some sort of poke. Anyway, the invader didn't see us coming.
I
and
did
we
do a
wrecked them.
poke.
They didn't get a single hit on us. It was glorious. I laughed my goddamn head off. I've never hit a player with the Greatsword's R2 and both parts of it as well. It was majestic. Never count on not seeing a ginger.
So then we went into the Iron Keep.
Oh wait, no. One more thing before we go to the keep. I do have one more story from the peak. Okay, so I was exploring after we'd beaten the level, after you'd gone away for the night. I kept running around. I thought, well, we kind of bashed through it and we didn't really go down many side paths. So I thought, okay, I'm going to go explore. I'm going to go down the little side passages, the little side rooms where all the chests are, and see what's new and what's different, what's changed, because I was trying to build my gear up at the same time as well. I thought I might find some shards. So, do you remember? Okay, do you remember there's a room very near the Mither boss fight, off to one side, and it's got a whole bunch of poison urns in it, and those weird amoeba, like mushroomy creatures.
Yeah.
Okay. So there's a room full of those, and that's not a nice place to go if you don't want to get poisoned. So I worked my way through very, very carefully. I was chucking fire bombs, I was chucking throwing knives to break the pots from a distance, and I was dealing with the poison slugs one by one as they came through. Because I could see a chest. I'm like, oh, there's a chest there, brilliant. You can see where this is going. So I go through and take the enemies out one by one, and I'm doing it, and I'm thinking, yes, I've nailed it. Right, I've got rid of them. It took like 3 minutes of just standing back, waiting for the slugs to come forward, taking a hit, because I didn't want to break a vase and get myself poisoned again by accident, because it had happened enough. Finally beat them all through. Level's empty. Thought, right, chest. Awesome. I've earned this. Then I opened the chest. Then the chest ate me.
Hey!
I found my first mimic, and dear God, was I not ready. Those of you that follow me on Twitter saw the tweet, and yes, I wasn't ready. And do you know what? I wasn't even angry. I laughed my fucking head off. I couldn't even be upset. I was like, that, you made me work so hard for that. So hard for a reward that ate me.
There's one a bit further into the game which I applauded afterwards, because it was just the sneakiest place to put one of those fuckers. And yeah, you can't help but doing it sometimes. You just can't help but doing it.
So now the fear is back, and now I'm looking at every single chest just in case. Because if you pan the camera down, you can see the teeth. Just see the teeth if you pan the camera in the right angle. I know there's other ways of seeing them, but I like to see the teeth first. But
isn't there a lock on?
I think so.
Those chests.
But clearly, when it's been I think 25 hours we're at this point in our co-op run, and you haven't seen one yet. You've forgotten. You don't remember. It's like, yeah, it's fine. It's a chest. There's gold in there.
They're a bit easy to read, I think, in the first Dark Souls.
I don't know. Having a lock on the chest being bad is probably, easier to see than looking at the chain. Because oftentimes I forget which way the chain went. It's like, is that a good one or a bad one? Shit.
What? The chain being off to the side and looking manky meant that it was a broken one, and the chain that sort of curved properly was an okay chest.
Yeah, but then again, you know, you look at the thing, and if there's a lock, don't knock.
Right.
It needs a rhyming
Moving
system.
on.
Right.
So the Iron Keep, the Alon Knights are eager to race half a mile to end you.
And they're no longer Alon. There's like 1 million of them.
Yeah, they are not Alon. Thanks. There's something about the speed of that attack as well. There's a sort of brief delay before they strike, and that always throws me off a bit. Plus, they, as you were saying, they do like to pounce en masse now.
There's so many of them. I never expected there to be that friggin' many.
The most conniving of that stuff is when you first enter the big outside area where you bring down the bridge. There used to be one just to the right that was firing off great bow arrows at you.
He was a dick.
And he's not there now, but when you get across that bridge and you go down the other side, like there's one guy that's standing there with a great bow, but you get down to there and about 3 more just drop on and start piling into you, and that's a bastard. Because they all come out from that top room, they're all hiding now.
Yeah.
It's like, well played.
It's just a combination of, all right, lad. Oh. And if you've gone there on your own, it's not a fun place to be. But generally, I mean, I found the changes in this bit so far, up to the smelter at very least, just more of them, really.
More. Well, I wouldn't say more. I'd say they're more aggressive, and the positioning again is a little more intelligent, a little more conniving. But I wouldn't say there's more of them.
I don't know. I felt like there were more. I mean, I've run that area many flashbacks many times. Like the smelter was always the point I got stuck on both runs I did. I always got stuck at the smelter, and that run. On the PS3 copy I played, that area was empty by the time I finished. And I don't know, I felt like there's more. I feel like there's more. I know it's because they gang up faster, but it just feels like every time you think you've got them all, there's another 3, and there's another 3.
I think it's because they aggro from such a huge distance that rather than staying in their assigned positions, and then when you get close, perhaps aggroing or firing at you, this time they're like, oh, fuck that noise. And they're just running at you before you know it.
Yeah.
There's a summon just before Smelts of Lucatiel.
Lucos.
Always good to have her in a fight. So Smelts.
I didn't think he was that much different, to be honest.
No, it wasn't.
No, not a single change. I don't think it's still bastard tough if you don't know what you're doing. Like that flame sword can take pointlessly, stupidly large amounts off of your health. Like if you get caught by 2 of those swipes, you're done. Like you are done.
Yeah, but way patched from what you were saying on your original playthrough.
Yeah.
Which is just hard as fuck.
And part of that is I can deal with it now, but that original playthrough was just broken. Like it was so hard, and I beat it eventually. But dear God, did it make me work for it?
I remember you saying at the time.
Yeah, and then they patched it, and I was like, oh, it's not as easy. Yeah, it is now. It is now. With your bloody miracle run before they nerfed it. Yeah, sure. Beat it with miracles. Yeah.
I mean, beyond Smelter Demon, fairly smooth running, I'd say, from there.
Yeah, I think this is where the changes really... There's more changes, I think, from that point on. The fact that Turtle Knights...
Do you think so?
I think so, yeah, I think so. Alon Knights, in the bit where the Turtle Knight smashes the hole in the floor. I don't remember seeing Alon Knights there before. If I'm wrong, crucify me online, please.
I think you are wrong.
Oh, I'm sure they weren't there before. I thought it was just 2 turtles.
No, Alon Knights have been there, I'm sure.
Yeah, dipping the enemies in the lava is still hilarious. Activating the lava traps on the side passage was always funny, which you did 2 of, didn't you, I think?
Yes, I think so.
You hit one, went, pissed, and then jumped over it and landed on the second one.
Yeah, like a twat.
And then, I think, didn't you give it, like, do you know what, sod this, bye.
Yeah.
But yeah, I thought the run it felt a little different. Like it felt like the enemies were in different places. Maybe that was just me, but it just felt like a bit of a different run, slightly different. But I might be remembering it wrong because I didn't play that bit half as much as I did the first half of that level.
I did still sort of one of the biggest beasts of New Game Plus around here was there's a lad that invades just before the last bonfire before you get to the old Iron King,
the one that's in the bullhead.
Yeah, the just before you get to the bonfire, there's someone that invades up there, and I didn't realise that those sort of tiny bullheads that are spewing out fire spin, and he knocks one of those and then proceeds to just lay into you and parry you, and the lad's an absolute arse. What a
dick!
Yeah, because you've not switched the fire off by that point as well. So maybe in retrospect the idea is to try and get up to that ladder and switch the fire off, but fucking hell, he's still a huge battle from there. But
a couple of invasions in different places in the regular game though. Like I had Armourer Dennis Armourer Dennis. I had him invade me at the entrance of the Iron Keep, and when we played, it was like up in the rafters, wasn't it?
No,
someone invaded us higher up. Certainly.
Yeah, that was Oliver the Collector.
Oh, of course, yeah.
Yeah, which is an amazing game.
Brilliant.
You got, I think we had, when you're going in, you got Fencer Sharon, with the incredible head.
Looks like a gargoyle hat.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, it resembles a gargoyle.
Then when you go back, after you switch the fire off and you go back to then get the little item that's just in the first building. Yeah. I think that's where Armourer Dennis invades, and I think you've got the Forlorn that invades at a certain point as well. Yep. So all NPC invasions.
So much in the same way the PvP works. Lots of invasions in that area because it's a hotbed, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean this is one of the things that I've seen on. I think people have disappeared a little bit from the Xbox One version in that regard. And on Twitch, most of the people that are playing on PS4. And I think that if you look on Twitch, people have disappeared from Bloodborne. Like there's barely anybody playing Bloodborne on Twitch anymore, and a lot of the folks that are playing Scholar of the First Sin are doing so for PvP stuff. So there's definitely been a rise in that.
I think the PvP is where the legs is, isn't it? I mean, the PvP is where the legs of streaming, I think, lives.
I think it's something that Bloodborne's kind of had a little bit of a misfire on in that regard. Because the fights that I've seen can just last for about half a year because people are just healing forever.
The way I see it, and we were talking on Twitter to Josh Garrity. There was, I think, Brad Galloway as well was in that conversation as well. The way I liken it is Souls is designed with multiplayer in mind from the get-go, whereas Bloodborne feels like a single-player game with a multiplayer bit on the side. That's how it feels. Not that that's a bad thing about either game. It's just different.
Yeah, but I think that Bloodborne missed the trick with the invasions and all that sort of stuff. I really like the Bell Maiden. I really think that's a really cool idea. But
invasions, nope.
I don't know. It just seems like one of the things that perhaps they didn't follow through with, and I'd expect them to follow through with in DLC. I think we'll see more of a PvP focus in there. Even if they got rid of some of that fucking healing, I think it'd be better. Even if somebody invaded you and the fight can be dead quick, at least in one regard it'd be over with, and in the other, you might be sorted like that. People would just be invading like here, there, and everywhere, rather than this big yawn fest of like ying, 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 and people are back up to full health.
Yeah, so. People online are not great. Like the time we got invaded, we were playing together, and the person sent us a message back saying how we weren't loyal or something.
No, the message was 2 honourless noobs.
All because I threw a firebomb at him when I was trying to climb a ladder. Honestly, the best one I ever had of those, going on a slight aside, the best one of those I ever had was when I was in playing Souls 2. I was in one of the rat areas, the second one, the Pharos one, the one where you get pulled into other people's world. I get pulled in, I'm in the water, the guy is stood on the only rock in the middle, he waves as I turn up, the giant elephant turns up behind me, and the guy starts chucking lightning in the pool. So I kind of run up and try and attack him while he's kind of waving, because it's like, this isn't cool. I die miserably because I had the entire level against me, and then he sends me a message calling that saying that I wasn't Leal. And I'm like, you summoned me in, you started spamming lightning at me while an elephant was trying to stab me up the butt before I had a chance to move. Who isn't Leal? This is your fault. People online can be terrible. DarkSoulsHaters.tumblr.com. Go there.
Yes. Because Jeremy is a lovely gentleman as well.
Jezza Grezza.
So yeah, Iron King fight. We had Manhunter O'Hara as a summon.
We fell in the lava a couple of times, didn't we?
You did.
I first move of the entire fight, dodge rolled into the lava. Like a genius.
Well, this was... Before we went in, I was saying that this fight is something I have to get into the mindset of, otherwise I get knocked into lava, twatted by a giant hand or the such like. And you were like, no, this is fine.
Piece of piss, isn't it?
Then it happened to you, didn't it?
Straight in, no messing, boom, straight in, and then I'm sorry, and you were like, why? I went, I'm sorry. Boo.
But it went fairly well, I think, sort of thereafter, once you'd acclimatised the touched. So afterwards, I told you to look around.
Yeah. I looked around first, and then we didn't fall in the lava anymore.
No, that's not what I'm saying.
Wait, where?
I'm saying after the fight, I told you to look around.
Yes, sorry, yeah. I did look around. I went down the stairs.
Yeah,
and I
mean, we'd been to the Salamander Pit and the Forest of the Fallen Giants as well, with differing degrees of success compared to our builds. And I ended up jumping into your game to help you get rid of them, to get the key, to go to
Brume Tower.
The first bit of DLC we jumped into. Which
Might I say as well, trying to fight those salamanders with a melee build is not easy. They are not fun.
I mean, we'll bounce into builds in a moment, but in fact, we'll do that now.
Go on, builds. Yeah.
So our builds, we've pretty much named ourselves Arm and Hammer.
Yep.
In this regard. So I'm going full Sombro this time. I've got High Faith Miracles. I've got the High Despair, which I've got pretty high now, and I'm going to slaver in delicious gooey boldstone as soon as we get to Undead Crypt.
Lightening up the Vasu.
We've both taken a bit of time to level up a couple of cestus.
We have. You know what you should do first, though, before you go in there, right? Go back to Crows, right? Drop any of those small silky stones you've got, or the petrified somethings. You might get a bolt stone out of that. I've got poison stones and bleed stones and raw stones and all sorts of cool shit out of there. Like, you should do that. It's worth doing.
Right, tell people what your build is then.
Okay, my build, right? Okay, my build is...
Oh, I will add to mine before we move on, but I'm using lots of arrows.
You're
poison arrows,
you are bro.
Electric arrows. But it works quite well, because a lot of the time when you run in with sort of Uber Sword, I can be picking stuff off at distance, and then there's points where I'll be jumping in sort of two-handed with a Hide Spear, and then you'll run in from behind and just like clatter them with a greatsword. And the strategies work pretty well, I think.
I kind of feel stupid describing my build now, because that basically is it. Like, medium armour, greatsword plus, I think I've got it up to 7 now. So as soon as I found, I was using the bastard swords, and as soon as I found the greatsword, I've fallen in love with it. Reasonably moderate shield. I usually go for the Watch Dragon shield because it's quite light and it's got a reasonable set of stats and it doesn't weigh me down too much. Alva armor, Heidi trousers. You know, I just want to look a bit pimp. I usually put the classic hunter's hat, the Pharos hat, on because it just looks cool. Because if you can't look good when you fight, what's the point? And yeah, I don't use any range. I don't use any magic. I am a strength build. And I am running in and I am battering things with my sword. And it's fucking hilarious.
But I think that because I've used sort of quite a high strength and high dex build in my Xbox One game, I wanted to do something that was like fully all the way.
Exactly.
With faith and stuff, and do something a little bit different. But with the faith path, the early parts of it are pretty shit because you're not powered up enough and they don't do enough damage.
You kind of give, like, it's the kind of shock where you rub your feet on the floor a bit and you kind of touch someone's arm and give them a tiny little sting.
But
that'll
now
show you, Hollow.
Now I'm sort of full Sunbro. I can start earning the Sunlight medals and get towards the Sunlight Blade.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
start becoming Electro from Spider-Man.
So yeah, as we were saying, we've both taken time to level up Dual Cestus, and should be battering it into Belfry Luna to celebrate another round of underpants and fists.
Team Pantu Panchu.
To Electric Pantu Punchu Boogaroo. That'll be a long episode title with no description for when it appears on Twitter.
Yep.
But yeah, so you ventured beyond the primal bonfire.
Before we do, my cestus. I know you're going to do yours as lightning-oo. My cestus are both poison-oo. Because that's just how I roll when I cestus, because it's funny, because you see people panic when they realise they're poisoned.
Yeah, and I can't really do a huge amount with that until Undead Crypt, really. But so
fuck it,
we'll
just get 2 more cestuses later. They're not expensive.
But the thing is, I don't want to break away from kind of this lightning-ish sort of faithish build.
Okay.
So we'll just see how it pans out.
I may even have a spare boltstone I can drop you. I may even have one. I think I've seen one somewhere.
Do it.
I'll throw it at you
because I want it.
I'll chuck a boltstone at you.
Bring it. So yeah, Primal Bonfire, Old Iron King dead. Describe your thoughts and what happens from there, sir.
Right, okay, so you go through the little thing and you touch the snaky thing and then you disappear and then I panicked.
No, you've got to embellish a little bit more than that. Not like a thing and a thing.
Okay, right. So you touch your Primal Bonfire and then you said don't go anything, just walk past it. I went okay. So I brushed my hand gently on the bonfire, leaving my sign on it. That's too embellishy, isn't it? Okay, pop through the door to the side, and I've never been in that bit since the patches have come. The only linking area I've ever seen is the one in the rotten area. So anyway, I waddle on through, as you do, and I'm met by the giant sort of 3-headed snake statue missing the heads that you find at the Shrine of Winter.
It looks amazing, doesn't it?
It's a well put together item. Certainly.
Say cool things. I'm drawing the curtain.
Okay. What, with a crayon or?
Yes.
Yay. So I head through. I've read the signs on the wall talking about the kind of the danger ahead and the fact that only a challenge befitting of a true king or something like that is on there, which I thought was cool. Like that's some good flavour text on those walls. There's some good flavour text. I touched the Shrine of Winter. I'm going to call it a Shrine of Winter.
Yeah, you did.
I touched it, and then the screen goes dark, and then I panicked because I thought, oh no, I haven't cashed in my souls. Oh no, what have I done? And it just literally drops you. Like, it drops you just in the linking kind of foyer area, doesn't it?
And it looks beautiful.
And there's like side rooms that have message on the floor that are from the devs, which is strange.
I mean, the design work. Do you remember the doors that you open and there's loads of sort of sun designs and
little
like really
icons on the
really
thing.
intricate stuff on there. Yeah,
and I'm sure it all means something, but I'll be bollocks if I know what it is yet.
As far as I'm concerned, it just looks super pretty.
Oh god, yeah, I'm fine with it. But yeah.
Again, I mean, one of the things I hate about fantasies when fantasy's generic and none of that comes across in these.
Yeah. So anyway, we initially, as my first got through, went up to the door and it wouldn't let me in. So we went off and we fought some salamanders to get ourselves a key. Some stupid bloody salamanders, which battered the crap out of me. Although I'm very happy to see that you can, using the small stone, summon in friends even in areas that you've beaten.
Friends with bows.
Yeah, because I didn't think you couldn't do that before. Once the boss was beaten, that was it. Level complete. You can't summon anymore. The fact I could bring you in to help through that bit was incredible, because I would have banged my head against that for like an hour, because with just a sword, because I'm not using any kind of range except fire bombs, which I used to great effect in the fight against the Old Iron King, doing 8 damage per firebomb. Right, don't mess. I also tried to use them against the salamanders. Again, piss all damage.
Yeah, but fuck that noise. We're already in there. Talk about the DLC.
Yeah, so we go up the lift, the lift of anticipation, and it's like, you're getting the little feeling in your stomach. I'm going somewhere new. And I think registered trademark The Fear came back down a little bit. Because it's like that. It's the newness again. Like, I've never been in. Like, I know a lot of our listeners, in fact, probably all of our listeners, have been to the Dark Souls 2 DLC and they've seen everything. But I haven't. I never got there because I never bought the DLC on the PS3. I just never got around to it. And obviously, since we've been playing Scholar, it's the first time I've ever seen it. So I head up and I walk through. What a view to walk out on! Like, it looked
stunning piece of design.
Snow, but it also looked hot, which kind of like twisted my head a little bit. I was like, but there's a fire there and there's snow right over there. What's going on? This place is weird.
It's this kind of world of ash and frost and fire. You've got the giant chain that leads you
super
up
fun
to...
happy chain, which was an absolute nightmare to walk across because I was panting it the entire time.
But you've got all those cogs near the bonfire at the start, and then multiple ways that you can proceed from there, and such incredible verticality. There's a feeling of, oh my god, that I don't think that level of verticality's ever been in Dark Souls.
It feels like a tube, like maybe the Hollow.
It's serious.
Between
having
Blighttown and Ash Lake maybe is the only area that comes close to kind of that level of verticality, but that was more of a gimmick level, I thought, than a fully developed place.
It doesn't even vaguely come close.
No,
to this.
no.
And having completed that level, it is just a masterpiece of design, and it's huge, and it's sprawling, and it leads you to go, have I been there? Have I done that? Where have I? Because there's so many different quirks of the level. It's not obvious really where you should go, and not in a bad piece of design. It just makes you guess and second guess yourself constantly, because the enemies are
vicious,
pretty tough.
Yeah. They don't dick about. And one of them later on stands near a chest throwing firebombs at you. It's like, no, come fight me over here. I'm not breaking that chest. You get over here. And luckily I did, because that chest had a +7 cestus in it.
Yeah, it's pretty cool that they kick out some decent levels of weapons in there. It's not like you're just getting weapons that you've seen in the regular games, or even sort of new ones. They are leveled to quite a degree.
They are like, they're not just going to give you, hey look, here's a rusty knife. Now level it up for an hour and come back and it might be okay.
I suppose in that regard, if somebody has found their way into the DLC early, at least it's given them a fighting chance to overcome some of the enemies.
I don't feel like this is out of our reach at the moment. I don't feel like we can't do it. We're about level 100, aren't we now? Ish.
I think, yeah. That's supposed to be the level to approach the first of the DLCs.
Yeah,
but I had more trouble solo on a higher level of that with the first DLC than I probably had with the second and third, because I did them out of sync.
Okay.
But this was the first one that I ventured into. Those bad lads that burst out of the dust in front and behind you, the latter of which you predicted right before it happened, are fantastic.
Yeah.
I'll
tell you what I did like as well. There's two particular bits this level I like. We've not beaten the whole thing yet. I got to the first bonfire that's in the level, and I called it. I was like, no, I'm done. I'm scared. I'm done.
I think we'd gone to a place in the game that we didn't expect to go to, and it was just like, oh, we'll go here, we'll have a look round. It was great to gauge your reaction, but there was that feeling of we could crack into this.
We'll go in, we'll take some pictures, and we'll see where we are. Okay, so I like the barrel enemies, because I went straight up and attacked
they're fantastic.
them. Yeah, and I blew my fucking head up. Like, I was an idiot. I attacked them. I didn't die. I actually got all the way through to the first bonfire in there without dying, and I don't know how I did it. But I didn't die. But you were listening at this point, because I think you died to an axe guy, hadn't you, or something silly? Something had cornered you and battered you. So it was like radio play. I was telling you what was going on, and you were hearing the clenching of the butthole via the medium of the internet. But yeah, the barrel guys, like, you kind of let slip a little thing that, they're not hostile. They can be used for you.
They kind of wander around you, and there's a place a little bit into the level where they swarm around you and then wander off like they're doing there. But beyond where you are these little trapdoors, and they drop down into the main part of the room where there are loads of enemies. And if you've got, say, fire arrows or something, you can pick them off at distance near enemies, and they'll cause larger amounts of damage. It's
nice.
really cool. And those little noises that they make as well, like
They blew up around, like, there's a floating bastard. There's like a giant
those
glowing
are arseholes.
thing. Yeah, they blew up around him and did some pretty decent damage. And also, you go around a corner and there's 4 of them, and they're stood near like one of those fire bursty things, like, you know, the ones in the Iron Keep, the sort of the bullhead things that spit out fire. There's one of them in there, and they stood around. I'm like, I'm not walking forwards. I am not walking forwards until one of them has walked in the fire. Come on. Boom! There we go. And then the way was clear, and I could then move on. I wasn't going to fall for that trick.
Because the connections between the two, this is the realm that the old Iron King used to rule.
Okay, so here's my second thing, right? Now I'm going to channel a bit of Dark Calls here. I'm going to pull a James Farley, right? So we get in the level.
Oh, have you listened to the new one, by the way?
Yes,
where James gets
it. Oh my god.
Oh, it's just fucking ace. I was beaming at that tonight. I needed a smile at the end of the day today, and Guy was grinning ear to ear at that one.
Yeah, right. Well, I'll tell you what. We'll come back to my point in a minute. But yeah, if you listen, if you've not heard any Dark Calls, it's astonishing. It's a man who doesn't like video games, from what I can tell.
No.
Games. I'm being disingenuous. It's Dave Turner's James Farley. James has never played Dark Souls. Dave has played it once, and he's the only person who's allowed to help James through it. And the recent episode, he finally clicks with it, and it's joyous. It is joyous.
I really enjoyed that podcast anyway, but it was it was wonderful to switch on this time and just hear like such triumph and such joy in James's voice.
And the fact he hadn't even walked over to see Guinevere halfway through. It's like, no, come back. Okay, so I'm going to channel a bit of Farley here, right? I need to ask you a question.
Okay.
Right, okay. So when you get in the level, there's the kind of ashy statue thing. And you go up and you examine it, and it gives you 6 smelter shards.
Yeah.
Right? I understand that you put them in the enemy later on. It showed, like, that's a good tutorial.
Smelter wedges.
Yeah, smelter wedges, right? So I understand that's a nice tutorial of how to kill the one later. You put the smelter wedge in it, right? Right? What's up with that?
I can't tell you yet.
Oh,
there's something you have to figure out as it goes on. You've kind of had a little bit of a hint of it because you saw the creature towards the start, and you took the smelter wedge out of it, and then when you were battling other creatures later, the creature was giving them a buff, but also when you And when you applied the smelter wedge in there, it pulled that away. So, and you got something for it as well. I think you got and Ashen Soul or something like that. But
and Ashen Soul of Nishma or something.
Yeah.
Okay, here's something as well, right? In the DLC, right? I swear this is going to take way longer because I was trying to work out what all the new item pickups were.
Yeah, because that really threw you off guard, didn't it?
What the hell's a so-and-so weed? What's a so-and potion? What's this what? What? And I'd have to go back and find them in the inventory and read what they were, which was kind of making things a bit stop-start.
Like, but that's really cool, I think.
What's this item that I'm never going to use because I only use Estus and Life Gems?
The fact that it isn't a cakewalk for people that have done Dark Souls before, because even with the first Dark Souls DLC, you were pretty much on steady ground.
Yeah,
when you entered into Ulasil. Yeah, the enemies were new and the terrain was new and the bosses were new, but
doable.
I don't know. This really throws quite a lot at you that you've never picked up before and you've never used before. So that's pretty groovy.
It's the Destiny raid. It's like, here's a whole bunch of new things. Go.
Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, no, Brume Tower. The final thoughts on our brief foray. Like, that's a goddamn level right there. That is a
goddamn
level.
huge.
And if I don't unlock some shortcuts, I'm going to cry.
With
This level seems like it's made for shortcut porn.
There's lots of that, but there's lots of stuff where you think like, why will I need to go up to go here when surely I need to go down? And it's like, oh, but I'm here and I've not been through this door, and oh, this leads to there. Oh, and that unlocks that. And there's loads of that. There's a real sense of paranoia.
Yeah.
And for me, the first sense of really feeling, because Dark Souls 2, the bonfires are reasonably easy to reach, and I'm not sure in the main game there's ever been a point where I've been really panting it for a bonfire, but in the DLC you really do get to that, like, oh, thank fuck. And that's really neat. But yeah, I dig that quite a bit. Nice. So yes, we'll dive into a bit more of that next time, and I'm eager to do it as well, because it was tons of fun to jump into there and to see how far we can get with the two of us as well.
With the sort of, you know, relatively mid-powered builds we've got so far, I think we're doing okay, you know.
Yeah, but if you can drop us that bolt stone, I'll try dropping some of those smooth and silkies and stuff.
Boosh.
And see if I can at least slaver either my spear or my cestus
and you can get weapons. You can get weapons to +6 easily at this point now. You can buy small shards off Cloan, big shards off Macduff, bing bang boom, +6, no problem.
Sweet as sweet. Right, so we got a little feedback, some
we got a small amount of
feedback. Yeah. So do you want to read the first one?
Yeah,
from
okay.
Ben Harvey.
Okay, right. Feedback from Dan Harvey via email.
No, Ben Harvey.
Ben Harvey. Oh my god, I'm so sorry. I'm sorry, Ben. I can't read.
Who is Dan Harvey, Ben?
What?
Who is Dan Harvey, Ben? I'm appearing to Ben now, as if he's going to talk to me as the one that speaks sort of rationale.
Let's stop the podcast, wait for him to reply, and then put the next episode out when he's replied.
Carry
Roll
on.
the music. No, okay. Feedback from Ben Harvey via email. Hi, Paddy and CJ. Loved the latest episode, thank you. And since you asked for feedback, I thought I'd drop you a line. My opinion is to keep going on the co-op in Scholar. Drop the Bloodborne run for now, but if CJ does end up going back to it and loving it, we want to hear about that too. It's funny, I love Bloodborne so much and played it solid for a couple of months until I got the Platinum, and then just nothing. It hasn't engendered the same kind of obsession as Dark Souls has. So, on your recommendation, I picked up Scholar. Woohoo! Well done. Despite having sucked just about every inch of playability out of the original, multiple playthroughs, there's different builds, Platinum Trophy, etc., etc. And bugger me if I'm not enjoying my Scholar experience at least as much as any other Souls experience I've had. I'm now determined to get the Platinum Trophy for this version as well. Currently working on New Game Plus, working on Ben Hart's questline, and mopping up the remaining spell trophies. Interesting to hear that you're also going for all achievements, CJ. Have you already completed Dark Lurker?
No.
If so, can we hear about your experience of that on the podcast?
Yes. Eventually, I mean, Dark Lurker's one that, to interject, Dark Lurker's one that I've not done. I watched Pierre Creates fight Dark Lurker, who's a beast, but even getting to Dark Lurker is a swine. So
Dark Lurker's my only unfinished business from Souls 2.
Yeah,
it's the only one I never did.
I would like to get there, but not yet. But please continue, Patrick Stroke Ben.
I am Ben for the purposes of this.
Okay.
Here's mine to get things rolling. Hope it's not presumptuous of me to make you read something that might end up being a bit long. Don't worry about that. So, on my original playthrough, I didn't know about Dark Lurker since I mostly played without using a wiki. Well done, you. So I was on New Game Plus when I tackled him. I was using a strength build, and oh lord, he was kicking my ass. First phase, easy, he couldn't even hit me. And I'm going to interject here as Paddy and say, yes, exactly, I agree. He continues, second phase, seriously, fuck that guy. Or those guys. I consulted the web, tried respecking, watched videos, but I just wasn't good enough. Eventually, I came up with my own cheesy method that I haven't seen or heard anyone else use. I respect as a pure pyromancer and went in with the best pyro gear I could get. I had tried a few times to legitimately fight with pyromancies, but this was after some of the most powerful ones had been nerfed, so I wasn't getting over the line. My trick was to wear Gower's Ring of Protection and wait till they split. Then I ran over to the corner and faced the wall. When they both came over to smash me, boom! Chaos Firestorm. That's clever, I like that. That got them most of the way down, but then they started spamming Soul Greatsword attacks on me. Because of Gower's, I wasn't taking damage, but I was basically stun-locked. I told myself not to panic, and eventually there was an opening long enough for me to cast Chaos Firestorm again, and I was finally victorious. Well done.
Wow.
I looked at my inventory and realised, from the amount of human effigies I had remaining, that it had taken me between 40 and 50 tries to beat this boss.
No!
Easily the most of any Souls boss for me. Now, I never tried that many times, because I ran out of effigies way before that.
That's crazy.
Freaking 40 to 50. Like, I mean, my worst was, like, my personal worst, this is Paddy speaking again, was Artorias, was about 35. Because I was online chatting to some pals and I was just counting every time I failed. But man, 40 to 50 on Dark Lurker, I don't know. You've got to do the run every time as well. Like, no. Okay. Ben continues. And so I came to Scholar. I knew my cheese method wasn't going to work again because Gower's Ring doesn't block non-physical damage from behind anymore. Or at least not 100%. I didn't know that. Mechanics news. And also, I wouldn't get that until New Game Plus and wanted to try him on New Game. I was saving up my human effigies in anticipation of needing as many as possible. Very wise. First try with Dark Lurker was a dismal fail. I'm running a dex build with a few spells thrown in and a bit of strength to wield some of their heavier dex weapons, and it wasn't working for me. How does this guy have such high defense? My Ricard's Rapier plus 10 has served me well for so long, but there were two problems with it now. Firstly, I wasn't locking on, so the jab was often missing. I needed a weapon with a wide sweeping attack. Secondly, the Rapier relies on multiple jabs to do high DPS, so I wasn't getting that either. I tried a couple of other weapons on my next few tries, but they were still messing me up when they split. Eventually, I tried a Mirror Greatsword plus 10. God knows why I had that, but anyway. Didn't do that much damage, but after Dark Lurker split, I suddenly found myself in the zone.
Well played.
Foley. I was light, I was speedy, I was Mr. Dodgy Rollerson. Towards the end of the fight, I got cocky and was hit once. But other than that, I wasn't touched. Fucking well played.
Absolutely. Spot
your opening, run in for one slash, then get out. When the bastard finally died, I felt like a god.
Foley.
I made sure to hit the share button and save the video. And I looked at my effigies and found it had only taken me 5 tries.
Well played.
Wow. So much for my trepidation on to New Game Plus. Wow.
Well played, Ben.
That is... I don't know. I was going to say that was an example of knowledge making things better, but that was a completely different run at the end there.
Yeah, that's very, very, very cool.
Incredibly well played. I would ask you, Ben, the video you shared, have you put it up on the YouTubes? Because I want to see that. Yeah, having never actually beaten him, I want to watch that because I will be enamoured by it, and I won't be able to do it when I play, but I'd love to see someone actually do it competently.
Right, so next we had 2 messages from the Law Hunter.
Sinewu.
Sinewu.
Sean W.
Sean Wagner. Yeah, Sean Wagner. Both written in completely different styles. So Patrick will speak as a normal human being, and I will punch this up for all humanity, for Twin Humanities.
Very good.
Dear Mr. Coffee Jesus, I am penning you this letter most perturbed and frightened that it is with the last of my sanity that I divulge these thoughts onto paper. I recently heard word that you were pondering whether or not to make the journey to Yharnam, to see if you could muster yourself to seek the Pale Blood, and if you should be in the company of Mr. Stardust or not, as you did so. Sir, I beseech thee to walk the cobbled streets and press through the tangles of bramble with you and yourself as solemn company. Hunting is no simple task, and by formless Odeon I will admit that more than once I desire help. I was a long way from the pristine and haunting halls of Drang Lake, and with the lack of a shield and well of magic dry, I often thought that my journey to seek the pale blood was a dream unattainable in the waking world. However, I am aware that this challenge was my own curse, and one which your human soul may not trouble itself with. From previous correspondence, I realised that you might see yourself as a foreigner in the land of Yharnam. Perhaps, but we all were at one time or another. Whilst the Yharnamites are not a kind folk by a wide margin, there are yet those whom I believe you would find pleasure in getting to know better. There are the likes of Ariana and Alfred, who may yet be of more importance than they first appear. While small in significance and unlikely to fill your heart in the same way Solaire or Siegmeyer did, the small folk of Yharnam tell their own tales of woe, and I feel there would not be a dry eye in the room if you knew the extent to which they suffer for events beyond their control. Speaking of such, there's a larger mystery to Yharnam, but you must read those stories as you write them upon your own mind. As we must not judge a man for his ken, journey to Yharnam with naught but a missive to seek the pale blood. When you find it, I cannot guarantee Yharnam will have stolen your heart and lined your brains with eyes as it has for me, but I can guarantee that you will have better insight into the world, both seen and unseen. The sky and the cosmos are one. Your humble servant, Asayana.
I was sold until the last bit. What's an incredible email?
Yes.
Right.
And so I sent a little something back to Sean to say that it would be on the show, and he sent us a regularly worded
another
one.
email, which I will read with real words. But before we do, well done, Sinawu. Those are some good words.
I thought you were going to praise me for my acting ability there, which I thought was confidently brilliant.
It's all right.
Bastard.
Wait. Hang on. Ask me again.
No, move on. Read Shiona Wu 2. Oh, I know what you're doing.
No, it's like ruined it. No, turn your phone off. Podcast over.
I'm sorry.
I've closed
Let's
it
see
now.
if I can do it.
Oh, piss.
I'm sorry.
Foley. Wow, this is stupid voice cast today. Okay.
Yeah.
Moving on from stupid voices. Sinawu, Part 2. I can empathise with Paddy's want for you to sink your teeth into blooders, which is probably what drove me to write such nonsense. That is nonsense. That nonsense was wonderful.
It was awesome.
As you brought Paddy to the Souls games, it was you two and Bonfireside Chat who brought me back to Dark Souls after I'd initially fizzled on the challenge of it. As I've said before, if it was the Bonfireside Chat guys that got my head into the lore and world of the games, it was you guys who opened my heart to the tragic and wonderfully characterised people in these games. In that sense, I'm hoping my impassioned ramblings prove to help nudge you towards Bloodborne as you nudge me towards Souls. I'm going to boldly, yet confidently, proclaim that Blooders is my favourite Souls game. Bold. This is due in part to Blooders definitely feeling like my Souls game, as it was the first one that I really followed from announcement to release. However, I also think the world and lore are the strongest overall in the series. I am somewhat biased in that gothic horror and cosmic horror are genres I really enjoy, but I also think the world is characterised beautifully, and the story of the player is masterful in its execution for what it's trying to achieve. The problem with trying to describe this, and I've seen Paddy's own struggle with this, is that it requires a full experience to understand and appreciate these things, and delving too much into why Blooders is so great would ruin it. But there is something that I can say that I feel that you in particular would latch onto, and is not talked about enough. While the Souls games have been about kings and lords, the heart of Bloodborne is about the average person and the tragedy of getting caught up in things outside their control. It's a power struggle between humanity, human nature, and human potential. Like Dark Souls 2, Blooders presents a series of character vignettes that speak to a larger whole. A lot of these vignettes resonated with events in my own life, where I struggled against the world that seemed out to get me, or where my best intentions resulted in the pain of others, despite my best efforts to do good. Both Yharnam as a whole and the individuals within are all trying to deal with the system they're caught up in, trying to either break free from the system or walk against the current. And it is in these places that Blooders has a lot to say about humanity, and is where I think it is truly a masterpiece. I apologise immensely for this completely unrequested follow-up, not at all, but you guys have really got me thinking about why I love Blooders so much, and I couldn't help but spew some of it out in the hopes that I might do for you what you do for countless people with your show. Sinawu.
Thank you, Shino.
Thank you, Sinawu. Again, a wonderful series of words.
But I can understand when something speaks to you personally, because I think that's part of why I've sort of fallen so romantically for Scholar of the First Sin, because it's immensely personal to me now. And the two games did come out more or less side by side, but I'm sure that Bloodborne will find me when it's purely ready, and because I'm ready for the moment, then it'll speak to me a little more. But it's ace that Sean's got that same sort of connection with Bloodborne, and that it's it's that personal for him as well.
Yeah. I know what he means as well about the fact that it feels like it's his. Like Blooders, and I would argue the first half of Souls 2 up to about the Iron King, they both feel like they're mine. Like, they're mine. I played those myself without any help, without any strategy guides. I did them myself. Made all the mistakes, worked out the puzzles, fought my way through by myself. And that's probably why I evangelised Blooders so much, because it feels like, it was mine. I came to Souls very late, as we all know. It's the crux of the whole fucking show. But I came to Souls quite late, and it was already a lot of people's, it's best thing since they got bread and they sliced it. And it's quite hard to kind of... I find it quite hard to gel with something that everybody likes that you don't necessarily quite click with initially. I think it's far easier to bounce off if popular opinion is this is amazing and you don't quite get it straight away. It is quite easy to bounce off of it. But I think perseverance and when it feels right, when it clicks, it'll click. And that was it for Demon Souls for me. I bounced off it like 3 times, and when it clicked, it finally clicked, and it was proper on.
Maybe I'm feeling with Bloodborne what everybody else has experienced with sort of like Demon Souls and Dark Souls, and that the fact that it's this long, this far into the lineage of a series of games, which I'm well up for, has taken me aback a little bit. But I'm hoping that at least when people listen to the show, they don't think everything is rosy just because it's Souls. That that we're with a new, because before Dark Souls 2 came out, I think it was Matt Lees was saying that with reviewers, would they be reviewing Dark Souls 2 well because they like the series? Would they be reviewing it well because they feared an impassioned audience would jump on them if they didn't get the game? So, and I'm hoping that people see that we've got opinions on these things, but they're not necessarily going to toe the line. And hopefully, if we get chance with Dark Souls 3 or whatever, people are going to be curious to see, because we've got different opinions on Bloodborne, and we've got times where we come together on the different games, and I kind of like that people know that we're honest, for better or for worse.
On that tack, I have one more piece of feedback which came through on Twitter, which I'd like to bring up. There was a few people that responded to our question on Twitter, and I'm sorry I didn't collate them all, but I forgot. But general consensus was along the lines of the emails we received so far to ditch the Bloodborne co-op run. It's been the general consensus, which I knew it would be. But we had a message yesterday from Tim Moore, who's at Frothy Ham, which we've spoken to before. Okay.
Marvellous Tim.
Okay. He sent us a couple of tweets, which I'm just going to get through quick. Just my preference. I tend to listen to podcasts where people totally geek out over stuff they really like. Favourite episodes of Twin Humanity Know the Humanities are when you guys get really passionate about something you love. Not as fun for me as a listener when you just ain't feeling it. Once again, nothing wrong with not feeling it, and I hope CJ does feel it eventually. But until then, don't push through it just for our sake. Just have fun. And of course, I completely missed the first part of that statement where he said he's just listened to episode 51 to each their own course, but it bums him out to hear your complete lack of enthusiasm. And he'd almost rather we skipped it for now, have fun with Souls, and come back later. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I think it's. I mean, that's been the overwhelming opinion, and I kind of thought that it might go the other way, that people would be like, no, you should push on through, you'll get it eventually. So that because people do like to hear the enthusiasm when it's there, and hopefully, when it comes to the episode, it's like, Pad, fucking hell, Bloodborne. When that happens, that people will be like, oh my god, this is happening!
Yeah.
And people will put up like the gifs of the, oh my god, it's happening!
I want to have Dark Calls 26. I want to have that happen.
Yeah,
but yeah, no, I like interesting take on it that I'd not considered, to just completely sack it off completely rather than keep playing it on your own. Like, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, it's we'll see what happens in time, but yeah, I've got there's sort of around November, December, January is and winter time is a time that I kind of struggle with, but usually find myself in survival horror for some reason, or quite gloomy stuff. So maybe that's when it jumps in. But yeah, I'm curious.
And I would argue with some of the correspondence we had on Twitter as well that that character we were using, the hammer character, stop. If you're going to start again, start fresh. Because when we're running around together, it's just we're not getting the full atmosphere, shall we say. I think if you start it again, you have to start it from the beginning. But I'm kind of come around to Frothy Ham's point of view here. I think when you want to play it, but don't play it for the sake of the show if you're not going to enjoy it. Because we want to have a fun show, and we don't want people to turn into the Grump cast.
Well, it's frustrating wanting to love something and kind of finding that I'm folding my arms a little bit and not letting its embrace
the more people want you to, the more people want you to want something, the more they go on about it, the more likely you are to bounce off. I find, oh yeah, right,
possibly.
I'll try.
But yeah, when it's timed right, it'll find me, I guess. But yeah, we'll see.
So for now, then, officially, the Blooders cart run is backburning. We'll still be talking about it. I'm probably still going to carry on my arcane build. I'm going to start pushing through them because I've only played Bloodborne after my initial run with you. I've barely.
And you're going through the guide this time, aren't you? To dot the i's.
I'm using the guide. I'm getting all the bonuses, getting every gesture because that's just how we roll. Yeah. But yeah, Blooders will return as and when. Perhaps. We'll see.
Right, so we've got
interesting. I've got one more tweet I want to talk about before we just move on to the last one. Just a quick shout out actually to Loeffler McDonald from Twitter, who after listening to us on the Bonfireside Chat show, decided to get drunk on Esther's Flask cocktails.
Marvellous.
And gave him the third worst hangover of his whole life. And I can't help but feel slightly responsible.
And joyous.
Yeah, so thank you for drinking the disgusting concoction. No, it's not disgusting, it's lovely. Thank you for drinking the concoction I made. It's very much appreciated, and I'm so happy that my cooking skills have not been for naught. And someone has made a thing that I made. Make the pizza next, it's lovely.
Right.
Okay, but yeah, now we should move on. Back on the plan. Back on track.
So finally we had some feedback from Alex Fusil, I think is the pronunciation. Apologies if it's not.
I'm going to go with Fusil.
Okay. Hi Paddy and CJ. First of all, I have to gush a little and say great job on the podcast. The positivity and zest you two have on your show is really something special, and it's infectious. So much so, me and a friend have decided to start our own podcast. At the minute, we have very little in the way of concept, but we have had our first run at it, and I'm currently cutting the conversation together in something a bit easier on the ears. I had a couple of questions about the process you guys go through when making your shows. First of all, where do you get your intro music from? Is it licensed, or can you just use anything as it's not for profit? Secondly,
right, I'll cover. We'll cover.
No,
let's ask this question while we're here.
No, we've already moved past one thing, so I'll read all of this and then we'll answer them.
Okay.
Firstly, where do you get your intro music from? Is it licensed, or can you use anything as it's not for profit? Secondly, how do you go about uploading your finished podcasts? I've read a few things online, but it seems really unclear as I'm not very techie. It'd be cool if you could help. If not, don't worry about it. Just know you guys are a real inspiration, and I wish you every bit of luck. I will continue to evangelize. Thanks, Alex. P.S. Didn't get a chance to say thanks, but you guys gave brilliant answers to my question about coffee served to Souls bosses. Had me in stitches at work. So to go back to to go back to the first point, it's amazing to hear that we've sort of passed the mantle on of somebody else wanting to do a podcast, because it was Midnight Resistance and Ken and Rince that made me want to start a podcast here in the first place. If you've not listened to Midnight Resistance, please do, because it's fucking brilliant and I love it to pieces. But I think it was the second or third episode of that I heard, which was the Kane and Rince Midnight Resistance sort of 6-hour end of year crossover, just turned my heart. It was just wonderful to listen to, and changed the way that I looked at games, the enthusiasm that I fed from the people that were talking to me honestly, that were spending their own money, rather than it just being kind of a check at the end of the month and doing whatever people had to do to make that money, which is what the big sites felt like. I fucking love it that somebody else has been inspired to take on a podcast, because that's what happened for this starting up. So with MIDI and Ken and Rince. So.
Well, shout out at this point to Death Note and Vader as well. At this point, I feel like we may have had a slight hand in they're getting going as well. Not that I want to blow our own trumpets, but fuck it, toot. But yeah, no, thanks for the continued shout outs as well, Vader and Death. Dark Insight podcast as well. It's a good listen. So wow, look at this, it's happening. So yeah, the intro music, the one for Twin Humanities we nicked from Justice League Unlimited because it's massive, and we don't really get told off by YouTube because we're not making any money from it. Yeah. Also, the original music we used to use. Remember the first music we had?
The Dark Souls music, wasn't it?
It was a bit clipped out from the Dark Souls intro, which I rather enjoyed.
Back in.
But yeah, no, we're just using Justice League Unlimited, and I don't know. Is it because I think it's because we're not big enough that they don't?
No,
care.
I think if you're not making any money, I don't think they're asked, because it is listed at the bottom of the YouTube that it is from Justice League Unlimited, and there's a link to buy it, which YouTube put in there, so they've already identified that. For the Humanities and Twin Destiny, we got there's a site that you can that we found that had royalty-free music, and you can just sort of punch in sort of like bongos or Nandos or techie or chip tunes and find a few of those, and they're free to use. So we've used those on the others. The
site we use has one called Presenterator, which is the official intro music for Other Humanities. It's called Presenterator, and there's another site that has one called Strike Eagle. If you look for those, that's where you'll find them. And there's good stuff on the sites. There's good stuff, and it's all just download and use. And because it's licensed, royalty free, it's a bit better to use than the Justice League music.
Maybe
we should re-record that.
The second point: how do you go uploading your finished podcasts? I've read a few things online, but it seems really unclear as I'm not very techie. No, I'm not very techie either, and we were. There was a certain point where we weren't sure how to get them online, to get them before we had our own. You talk about the techie stuff, because I know we did use Internet Archive for a while, which we were recommended, where you can upload your podcast and they will host it essentially for you for free, which helped in a few regards. I can't remember why we were doing that at first.
Yeah. I remember why. Okay, I'll cover that. But just before we do, you mentioned earlier you were cutting the conversation. Don't cut. Cutting's for chumps, right? You record it, you put the title on the end, and you put it out. That's how we do, right? Cutting, no, stop doing that. That's wrong. Editing is bad. Never edit. Keep it all in.
You remember me saying when Jay Taylor from Kane and Rince said for every hour of podcast there's 2 hours of editing, and I told you, and you were like, "What? Yeah. Really?"
For every hour of our podcast, there's 2 minutes of editing.
A whole 2 minutes.
if it's a problem
Okay.
one, yeah. Okay. As far as getting it up online, we've used a number of different places, but the main one we've used probably since the start is my good pal Sean. Let me jump on his web hosting. And my good pal Sean, I met on the Polygon.com forums when that was starting up. He has since gone to be community manager for Polygon and is now on support team for the entire Vox network, which is kind of cool. So, we know someone that's in a media conglomerate. Well, hey. But yeah, we share web space with him to upload onto there. And we went on, I think it was something like 123 Reg or Just Host or something like that is what we use. Again, I'm not super techie. I just go to the link where I have that he helped me set up. I upload it, and that's about it. iTunes feeds are pretty simple to do. You just download a text editor and just change the text in there as well. We always bung ours up on YouTube as well, which is a really good way of just getting it up there. There's a bunch of programs you can use to make that work. I used to use Adobe Premiere, and that was generating ridiculously big files, and it was stupid. But all I do now, I use a free program called, I believe it's called FreeMake. FreeMake. It's called FreeMake Video Converter, and there's a way on that of turning a audio file into a video. You just literally load up the audio file, select the picture you want to use as the background, press go. 5 minutes later, you've got a video, a flash video you can put onto YouTube in about 3 minutes. So if you want a quick, easy way of getting up on YouTube, use that. I know a lot of guys use SoundCloud as well. We've never used that ourselves. I think we actually hosted it on Google Drive for a while as well, didn't we?
God,
When we
the,
were just
the,
sort of
the early
starting
ones,
up
and then when a few people downloaded it, it just wouldn't let people download it anymore, which was something that we completely
Google Drive be like,
completely
nah.
had no idea about it until people told
Yeah.
us. So, but yeah, once Pat's done the edit and has gotten the MP3 uploaded and has got YouTube uploaded, I go to Tumblr. I'll jump back to YouTube and make sure there's a description in YouTube, and move the thing to public. I can then take the link from YouTube and post it into Tumblr. Write all the details underneath, or paste in the details. Patch in the MP3 files and the iTunes files as well. Then post it. Link that to Twitter. We normally put the YouTube link on Twitter as well, just in case people don't want to bounce to the site and just want to press play. Tech-wise,
and then ask people to share it around. Yeah. Oh, and then what happens is then I don't update the iTunes feed like a dick for about 4 days, and usually Jeremy Greer from darkspectators.tumblr.com is the guy who tells me that I've not updated. He's like, oh, it's not loading today, and I just look at my computer and just think, oh, piss. So Jeremy Greer is now unofficial third humanity who tells me when I failed to upload it.
So
thanks, Jezza.
So on another regard, with regards to setup, we kind of had a bit of a tech leap at the start of the year. So I'm using a Blue Snowball mic, which is fantastic, and I've got a dual layer pop shield in front of that. Have you got?
Okay, my setup's a bit different. I'm using a Blue Snowball microphone with a dual layer pop shield.
Have you got? I thought you
light.
had a Yeti.
No, I got the Snowball. I bought mine because I bought mine first. I bought mine ages ago when I was. When did I buy mine? Oh God, when I was still making videos for the interwebs, where I used to make. I used to make Laura play games she didn't like and laugh at her. They were fun. If you ever want to laugh at me and the missus playing video games, it was called Not Helping on a website called mkgaming.com. The site's dead, but they're still on YouTube. So if you want to see them, have a look for them because they're very funny. I thought they were anyway, and I was a bit of a pig. So, but yeah, I bought mine ages and ages ago, and the pop shield is new. Thanks, Laura. She threw a cushion at me.
When we first started recording, we just record the Skype conversation, but we knew from other podcasts that they recorded the audio individually and then matched them up. Now, usually that's with a keyword. So I know Kane and Rince do sort of a 3, 2, 1, and then everybody says click together, and it's those spikes that you then match up in Audacity, which we use to record with. We use the Midnight Resistance method of 3, 2, 1 piss. Just because
it's got a good stab. Piss is a nice.
It is, but I also like to think it's a little bit of reverence to where we've come from. which is pretty neat. And so
Also, syncing this up is going to be tricky now because we've said piss twice.
I presume one of them was right at the start of the podcast, so I believe in you and your ability to do that. But yeah, once
I've got 2 minutes. I've got 2 minutes to edit this thing, man.
So once we finish the show, I will take my files, save it off as an MP3, and then upload it to Google Drive, where we've got sort of a Twin Humanities. It's just the Twin Humanities podcast Gmail. We'll upload it there. Paddy will then match up the sound files and sort of.
I use Adobe Audition
and then export them from there. And like I say, that's when we go to YouTube and Tumblr and all that kind of stuff. So a bit rambly, but I hope some of that helps. And if you're struggling
that's literally everything as well. That's everything.
If you're struggling, shoot us an email or let us know, and we'll help out as best we can.
Except if it's iTunes, in which case I'll direct you to my pal Sean. Because I don't fucking know. I just changed the words in the iTunes file and let it do its thing. I never set it up.
So yeah, that's the episode. The Augustravaganza is now finished. It's over. We're going. Say goodbye, Patrick.
I don't have a stone one for that.
What? Why?
Okay.
I was going to lead you in then.
Okay, hang on. Just stay with it. Stay with it, guys, listeners. You're nearly there.
We can never end these things, can we?
No, we can. Okay, yeah, go for it. Leave me in.
Okay. It's a shame that you don't have a way for us to get out of this. You should have thought of that earlier.
Hello.
It was the wrong button, wasn't it?
I know.
Goodbye.
Goodbye.
I'm
It's too late now. It's far too late.